Hello, hello, and welcome back to Call Your Coven, practical advice for nonsensical times. My name is Bee, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm your resident numerologist.
And my name is Meg, my pronouns are she, they, and I'm the resident tarot reader.
But today we are not using any of those skills. We
Not
are
a one.
not a one. We are having actually, it was so beautiful. We recorded a few days ago this conversation with Hannah Levy, who is the editor-in-chief, founder, head witch in charge over at the Rebis magazine. And we're talking about the Devil issue, which Meg over here guest edited and I contributed to. So if you are watching on YouTube, we're going to have a costume change here in a second.
Yeah, because Riverside just had a moment and was like not cooperating. We recorded a different intro and Riverside didn't like it, I guess. So we're recording this on a different day and that's fine.
Eclipse season said you should talk over each other, even though you didn't do that, and give you no way to fix it.
Yeah, it's fine. Now we get to have a costume change in just a moment.
Yes. And some time to reflect on the gorgeous conversation that we had. It was much needed on the day. And Hannah is so brilliant and so lovely. And Meg is going to read her bio for you.
Yes. So if you are not familiar with Hannah Levy, she is a wonderful human, and I'm going to read her bio really, really quick. Hannah is a writer, poet, creative thinker, and founder and editor of The Rebis. In her past lives, she led content marketing and brand strategy for tech companies and did a 7-year stint as the editor-in-chief of music blog Indie Shuffle. When she's not reading and writing about tarot, she's horseback riding, walking through the redwoods, stargazing, reading erotic poetry, and playing extensive make-believe games with her daughter. Now, Hannah is an absolute dream of a human. She is just a really lovely, compassionate, thoughtful creator and someone who is really committed to creating space and platforms for artists, both emerging and established, to share their work. And the Rebis has just been such an important thing for me. It's such a cool project. I've been lucky enough to contribute a few times, and it was such an honor to get to guest edit the issue on the Rebis. On the Devil specifically, but every issue of the Rebis focuses on a different tarot archetype. So we got to talk to Hannah about the Devil, about taking care of ourselves in this wild, nonsensical, crazy world that we're living in, creativity and tarot and the intersections of art and spirituality, and just a lot of really beautiful things. And can't wait to share this conversation with you.
Absolutely. We didn't talk enough about horseback riding or the redwoods.
We really didn't. No, we should have made her read the bio and been like, explain all of this. I know some of it. I know the erotic poetry and I know how wonderful her daughter is. That's the horseback riding I didn't know.
I know. But there's always room next time.
Always room for another one.
Yes. Well, thank you for listening to Call Your Coven. You know where to find us at Call Your Coven. We're on Patreon, we're on Instagram, we're online. And without further ado, here's our conversation with Hannah Levy.
Enjoy.
Well, I feel so lucky to get to experience it, but also, like, real talk, it is like it's an interesting project to work on. It's been a really interesting project and one that has often felt like emotionally heavy, because it brings up a lot for me personally too, just like having to be in the role of editor and like hold all the people's work, but also thinking about how to build an ecosystem where like artists and writers get paid, and we're also raising money for other causes beyond it. But I was in a like financial privileged position to like bootstrap the magazine and now figure out how do I break even? How do I like get it to a place of breaking even? Just for context purposes, like I was able to take like savings, my own savings from like working in tech to figure out like, okay, how do I make something that is like really beautiful that I think the tarot community and the art community could really benefit from, but then also like not capitalism. Like I don't want to like make a big profit from this. It needs to feel like more of a community and an ecosystem. So I'm excited to talk to you two because you're both in it and involved in it. But yeah, I just feel like the stories that we published and the quality of the work have gotten like more up leveled. And as we like reach newer audiences too, it's interesting to see like the kind of writers that are coming our way. For example, in the double issue, there's so much more poetry than in the first issue. The first few issues I was doing a lot more like outreach and like posting submissions calls, but like had few, it's a new publication, and so there were fewer people submitting. And then, as Meg knows, for the double issue we had like over 250 submissions, which was just astounding to me, and I felt so grateful to be like to see so much art proposed and like so many beautiful things, and then to have to pick them is like the hardest part. um, so there's a lot of those kinds of challenges, because it's like with the publication like this, you're dealing with like creative intuition so much, but then you need to think about like audience fit and like the cohesive story, like as a whole, like everything that's going to come together in one magazine. And so there's just a lot of gear shifting that happens. So, but I love it.
Yeah, I think you just already right off the bat touched on something that's been on my mind and heart recently, which is how can we create spaces and projects that do break even, that do pay artists, that do support causes without getting stuck in the capitalism loop.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
it's hard.
it's so hard. When I first started, I was like, okay, I need like an Instagram channel and I need to do all this marketing. Like I came from a traditional marketing background. I have background in like writing and editing, but like for brands, for tech companies and startups, telling like brand stories, leading marketing teams, getting SEO, bringing people in the door, trying to find a marketing fit. And so that's where my mind was initially going. And what was ingrained in me was like scale fast, like reach as many people as possible. I was like, I'm gonna build a media like website and like get people to submit, and we're gonna do like weekly themes. And I like thought about building like a media empire for tarot, and that is still in me. Like I still talk about how cool it would be to have like a tarot art hub that included so many voices and produced a lot of content, but like my nervous system was like, fuck no. Don't do that. That feels
Don't do that to
bad.
us.
And like I just released myself from like chasing the algorithm, and I had the benefit of like time to do that because I was self-funding the project, and so like I didn't have to make a revenue right away, which I think is a huge privilege to do, but then also it allowed to have a thoughtful offering approach, I think. So yeah, that is exactly it. How do you not get hooked by the like trap of like growing your followers? And like, I talked to like a traditional book publisher that was like, oh, you could turn this into like a book series, like this idea of like turning it into a series. And they're like, but you'd need to have at least 10,000 Instagram followers, and like you'd need to like the production schedule would need to be much faster. And I was like, So I don't know, as like creators, you're probably facing the same thing with books and getting work out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not just about the financial privilege of getting started, but I think the financial privilege of keeping going. Like, how do you sustain something like that if your focus is not profit? I mean, just a peek behind the podcast curtain, we've talked a lot about that in terms of like, do we want to do ads at some point? What would that look like? Do we, our Patreon, we have beautiful supporters, but it's like a lot of this is donated time and energy. And that, at least personally, I'll just speak personally, it feels good because there's a community element, and that it is a very valuable exchange in and of itself, at least, for me. But it is hard to think about sustaining something for a long period of time, especially something that is slow and publishes once a year. I'm sure you were tempted at some point to go like towards profit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just using this as like I'm using this as like my creative art making project. So like I fear that. I fear the idea of like making profit from it, because I think that it's like for me personally, like that's a slippery slope, and I don't want to go down that direction. But then it means it has to stay small and contained and like one a year, and like not scaled, right? And it's okay to release the need to like reach more people every single year. And like if it grows just incrementally, like the slowness and the pace makes it, I don't experience burnout in doing it. Whereas like if I was doing 3 of these a year, a quarterly magazine, like no. So I'm able to pour energy into this in a contained space and then do other things. And I think that's the devil. I mean, to bring it into the devil, right? I think that's like the chains of the devil is like figuring out like how not to get stuck and hooked by certain things. But yeah, I mean, figuring out aligned sponsorships, figuring out like aligned ways to partner with other publications or like other creators that are doing things for like mutual benefit and like reciprocity. I think that's like kind of where my head is at.
I mean, I love that. And I think that I think that this is one version of a model where creatives can be working together to support each other and make something that's not in like pure capitalism mindset. Like, because
Yeah.
it's such a quick, my brain keeps going hamster wheel, but that's not the metaphor I want. But like, it's such a quick upward climb of like, well, then we just have to be what was last year and how many did we sell and how many contributors came in and like how many opportunities do we have
Yeah,
and like who
no,
do it's like we're wired that way because we've been living in capitalism, and so it's just it's kind of like what you learn to expect around it, and that's not always a great thing, but I think it can
no,
take
but
a
I mean,
lot of
that's like,
creativity to
that's the
figure
world
out.
I came from previously too. Like
Yeah,
I worked in venture
exactly.
capital and in startups. Like my whole background, I felt like I was experiencing soul loss. Like I know a lot of people, like there's, you do what you need to do to survive. I was in, the mode of like needing to accumulate wealth and make money and I
Mhm.
wanted to, financial goals and family and all these things. And I live in the SF Bay Area. So like instead of becoming an artist, I went into like corporate and startup marketing and was very successful at it. Like I did successful things. I tried to work with companies that like had values alignment, but like that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in
No.
that world.
Yeah.
It's like the devil, like talk about like evil masquerading as like purpose, right?
Mhm.
So I had to learn the hard way of like what it was doing to me spiritually and my body. And then I was like, okay, how do I like alchemize that? Like, what can I do to get away from that and to take the resources that I've gained from like perpetuating it, like not necessarily only by choice, but also because I did find some sort of pleasure in that whole lifestyle and experience. And my career was my identity for so long. And then it was like, how do I like, I don't know, like move that energy outward in a way that I actually feel like is in values alignment and then I can live those values. And that was like the genesis of the idea for the Rebis. And it was around the time when I was getting into tarot, like 2020, 2019. And I know, Meg, you just talked to Letitia about the zeitgeist, like 2017,
It
2018.
was that like 2015 to 2020, I feel like was such a surge of tarot, of new decks, of new creators, of like social media platforms. We're seeing so many people talking about tarot and posting about tarot, and
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a little class of us that all kind of like found the cards at the same time and
Yeah.
sort of found each other, and like it's kind of wild to me.
And I feel like I am like a self-ed learner. Like I went and tried to consume every single, when I got into tarot, I was like, I need to read every
Mhm.
single tarot book there ever has been written. And
Yeah.
there's like, of course, a lot of seminal works,
Hmm.
but not any that all around that time were when all these like bigger tarot books were like being written and being published. And there was like so much more um energy in that area, I feel like, from new people and from folks like you guys. And like I really loved the idea. I was like, I was following all these individual creators, and I knew so many people were making art and using tarot for like not just for their own like spiritual, like spiritual practices, but also to like prompt their creativity and to like sustain them, and build resilience. And so the idea was kind of like, how can I help unite a little bit and like create something that brings together so many different voices and so many different artistic expressions. And I was shocked to learn when I like dipped my toe into this world. I was like, how is there no like tarot magazine? Like where's the tarot? Where are the like really good like like art collectives around this? And so that felt like a little bit like seeing a need or having my own desire for it and then being like, maybe I could like help make that.
Meg, were you a contributor to a previous issue? But you were in the Star?
Yeah, yes, I was in the Star, and I was also in, did I write about the
The
Chariot?
chariot. Yeah, you wrote about the
Yeah.
numerology of the
Yeah,
chariot.
I was like, I feel like I missed one, but I think
Yeah.
I'm in the other three.
Which is why it was such a good fit for you to come on. When I
Yeah.
heard you were writing a book about the devil, I was like, okay.
Oh my
Well, this is
God, getting that
obvious.
email, I was like, this is perfect and exactly what I want to be doing right now. Because yeah, I was such a fan of the earlier issues, and writing, getting to write for it and be a contributor was such a special experience. Because like, Hana is so like you take so much care with the people that you work with and the contributors, but you also bring in guest editors that also are really passionate about the work and really want to collaborate with individual writers and artists, visual artists, and all kinds of folks. So it just felt like a really supportive experience. So when you were like, "Hey, do you want to actually be on this side?" I was like, "Oh my God, yes!" Like
What
I
was it
love
like? Was
editing.
it
I never
good?
get to do it anymore, and it was just like plus to get to write about the devil right now and like think about the devil and live and breathe the devil just felt exactly right. It was challenging because it's a challenging archetype, but it felt like
Yeah.
exactly what I wanted to be doing.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if we've talked about this. Like, what did you do to like balance out the how much it took to hold all of what's in the issue? Because the issue is really beautiful, but it's also like there's so much about shame and there's so much
Mm-hmm.
about oppression and there's so much violence and there's sexual trauma and there's a lot there.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I ever asked you, how did you approach?
Are you
I
okay?
think
No.
I think I mean debatable, but it's not because of this issue. I think I mean I'd love to hear what your answer is too actually, but I think it really was just like very much a day by day thing, and I feel like this is maybe going to sound super cheesy, but I really feel like the resilience and the boundaries that I have learned to set by like reading the news every day or not reading the news all day every day, like staying in touch with community and having outlets and having practices of like leaving my phone in the other room and like not looking at anything for a little bit. I feel like actually the world that we live in, as hard as it is, like learning how to navigate that in a way that I have some kind of regulation and am aware of how to take care of myself. I feel like that prepared me to actually work on the devil, because you asked that question. It's such a good question. And I'm like, I don't think I really had to make any major adjustments in order to sit in that archetype. And
You
like
were ready.
that's kind of a wild thing to realize, but I think the combination of the work that I already do, and I had done like a grief facilitation training earlier in the year, so I already had a lot of tools and yeah, just like skills and resources around sitting in hard things. I mean, I have a lot of Scorpio placements. I think it's kind of just something that I gravitate towards anyway. So yeah, I think sitting in that work and the vulnerability that so many shared as part of their work, because you have to, I think there was just something in it that made it feel very like, oh, I can sit with you in this. And then I
I
can turn the page to the next thing, and we'll leave that one there and we'll move into the next one. But we worked really hard to have a balance of like reclaiming of pleasure pieces and like joy pieces, as well as the hard, heavy stuff. And I think that also helped. I feel like we got a pretty wide spectrum. What about you? Did you find that you needed any particular like?
There were a few pieces. I tried to like enter into the like room of the content intentionally and
Mhm,
like box it off a little bit and then
mhm,
yeah, like you said, like go get grounded and like spend time in nature and spend time with my family and kids and like do things for myself. There were definitely a couple pieces in there because I'm still in the process of kind of like embodiment work,
mhm.
like somatic work, and like learning about just how to recalibrate my body and nervous system. That I
Yeah.
feel like there's definitely still times where I like wept reading a few of the
Mhm.
pieces, and
Yeah.
then it was like much harder for me to release them. Like you said, this
Mhm.
idea of like I can sit with you and hold your hand, but then I can let go and move on to the next thing. And I think there was a lot of times where I would feel the lingering
Mm.
presence of the words just like sit in me
Mhm.
more. And I think recognizing like, work around like, okay, I'm holding this, but it's actually not mine. Like it's here
Yeah.
and it's in the room with me and feels like it's in me, but I can kind of separate it a part of it off to the side and like just acknowledge that it's making me uncomfortable, but like use a Jedi mind trick and be like, but it's not mine. Like that's not my discomfort.
Yeah.
But then like a mirror, right? The devil is a mirror, right? So that like a mirror, so many of the pieces reflected back to me areas where I need to kind of look under for healing or things that maybe I haven't faced in myself either. And reminders at the same time, reminders of like how far, you know, I've come to like step into parts of myself that feel shameful or take ownership over the ways that I keep myself or I hold myself back or the ways that like there's been violence to my body or like, you know, abuse. So it's like the mirror part of it was the hardest part. And then I have a piece of art. The only thing I really contributed besides the editorial, like whatever work, all the editorial besides
everything.
Editing.
You know how much work Hannah did on this, and also how incredibly beautifully organized Hannah is. Like the back end structure was beautiful, and like I always knew exactly what we were doing. Everything was perfectly. Oh my god. Dream.
Yes, I do love a good spreadsheet. But yeah, I thought about writing something because I'm a writer, but I ended up doing a cyanotype self-portrait, and it was like, you know, I'm in the self-portrait. If you get the magazine, you'll see it. I am bound and looking at myself in a mirror. And so that was like a big theme for me, was like looking at myself through the lens of all the art and all the writing in the magazine. I keep going like this because the magazines are right here. I don't know why I'm doing that.
They're over there, and you should get them. But
please,
yeah, no,
please, if you buy one, not only are you supporting nonprofits and all of the artists and writers, but then I get to move some of these boxes.
Yeah. Can I hold my copy up? Is that
okay?
Yeah,
you can.
She's so beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, everybody should be watching on YouTube right now.
Yeah, if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm holding up a version of it. But
the cover of the magazine was designed by Javiera Lopez, who is a Chilean artist. She's out of Santiago, Chile, and she illustrated the cards in Jessica Doerr's book Tarot for Change, and is just amazing. And she's our creative director and has a big hand in the art and the visual elements. So for people who are listening, you should go follow her work. She's an amazing person.
She's amazing. I mean, yeah, she was such a pleasure to work with as well, and did such a beautiful job on this. But yeah, the piece that you shared, Hannah, I was so impressed by it. I remember when you sent over a few different versions of it, and I was like, this is badass and so brave, and I'm so like proud and impressed that you're like sharing this and that we're gonna get to put this in here, because it matched everything perfectly, but it's also such a vulnerable piece, and like people really were so vulnerable in this. I was just so humbled by how much of themselves people shared.
Yeah, I feel like your piece was. Oh, sorry, Meg.
No. I was just
getting excited because I was thinking about how much of Bee's personality is in this piece. I was like, I love it so much. Let's hear about your piece, Bee.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I honestly was. Thank you for saying that, because I was thinking like, well, mine will be like a fun little moment of levity for everyone, like in between vulnerable shares.
No, perfect.
I don't know. I think there's a serious current behind the really playful language about. Why don't you say what the piece is so people can follow?
Yeah, well, the two of you were totally integral to this process and like really teasing out how some of the structure and how we wanted to play with serious versus light. But my piece is about Love Island, the reality show Love Island, and the devil. And so I've contributed, this is my second time contributing, and both of my pieces, and I think this is really a testament to you, Hannah, and then the guest editors that you bring on. Both of my pieces were not planned. They just kind of spontaneously sparked, and I followed a thread and then was like, oh, there's something here. And so the devil was not anywhere on my radar to submit, just because of what I was going through with my health and my wife's health. And then we were watching Love Island All Stars, as we do, and a woman literally said about a guy, oh, he is the devil. And I thought it was so funny that she said that. I just thought it was so serious within the context of this show. But then I was like, oh, that's interesting. The Rebis is doing the devil. Like there might be something here. And so I sat down and I just thought, how would these two things, this very light reality dating show fit in with this sometimes demonic archetype? And it just really was clear, like there's a gamified version of this dating show. It's more than just love. This was All Stars, so these people have already done this, and now we're all back doing this again. And yeah, it just was interesting to me to play with something there. And I was really honestly just thrilled that other people read it and were like, oh yeah, this makes sense.
I thought it was such a fresh take on, like cultural commentary, right? Like this idea that shows like Love Island, you could just say, okay, this is just like a really fun, whatever, fun and dumb reality TV show that's like really light and it's a pure entertainment, right? But it is a product of the times we are in. And it is happening on this timeline with us. And so I do think there's connective tissue there. And to like try to examine it and like nail that down in a way that is both eloquent and like funny, but also kind of like doesn't allow you to escape the gaze of what you're looking at when you're watching this show, and tend to say, and both things can be true. Like, I can love this show and I can acknowledge that there are problems. I think that's just so beautiful.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I mean, it was just a joy to be able to talk about two of loves of my life, the tarot and Love Island.
No, I'm so glad we got to include it because yeah, I really like the juxtaposition of this really heavy, intense, like often intimidating and scary archetype, and the vulnerability required to go on a show like this, even if you are mostly in it for the clout or for the money or for whatever, you're still putting yourself out there for like the media, and US and UK media are brutal to people who go on shows like this. You're putting yourself out there for a lot of scrutiny and, trying to decide what it's going to be or what your story is going to be or how it's going to be portrayed, and also completely out of control of what the narrative becomes and your edit and all of that. So I loved it. I thought it was so fun, and I loved that you didn't shy away from including both aspects of it. It felt just like the perfect thing that we needed for that spot. And we have some art pieces that like just felt exactly right to go alongside it too, which was really fun.
Yeah, I'm excited to be with Charlie Claire's deck, the image of their devil, which is awesome.
Yeah, from Fifth Spirit Tarot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and there's a really fun puppet piece that I am obsessed with that goes along with it too. So
and I think what's one of the things that's so cool to work behind the scenes on a project like this is you get all these submissions, right? At least in this, fourth iteration, there was hundreds of submissions you're sorting through. And yeah, we're working with a singular archetype. So there's gonna be overlap. There's gonna be like things that very clearly fit together. But sometimes it's just so the complementary aspects of an individual piece of art that was created, months or maybe even years ago that they're submitting. And then an essay that's written now. And then there was like, I think in that piece that you wrote, Bee, you talk about the idea of like a puppet and strings. And then I was like, we have literally a piece of art, like a comic style piece of art that's like a talking puppet. And so just like, it's really cool to be able to see how the common like themes get expressed so differently in different ways. And I think that's what's really cool, like flipping from page to page is like, there's all like one archetype that you're going really deep into, but then there's so many rooms, and they all have little tunnels to each other and like trapdoors. That's cool. It's cool to spot that as you're like getting the piece. I would be like opening my email and I'd be like, oh, this reminds me, like this line reminds me of this other poem that I just read. So it'd be cool. That's really fun.
It was really cool.
You said that this issue you had way more poetry submissions. And you are a poet and have been really sharing your work and submitting your work pretty widely. I think that there's a correlation there. But what do
Oh,
you think in terms of like,
there's a chance because I am part of some poetry communities that where I posted like the call for submissions and I shared with them. And so I'm someone that like I never thought in high school I was not a joiner. Like I did not join. I did not belong in high school. I was like a total not a joiner. And now I feel like when I care a lot about something, I want to build community with those people. I think also the like just the nuclear family, like urban living, and then everything now being online. I'm like, okay, like who else out there can I talk to or art share, idea exchange with? And so when I started publishing my own poetry, it felt really lonely. So I've joined two poetry communities, one called Gather, one called Sustenance. And then I was like kind of lonely in tarot. So like I joined the Discord for astrology for writers because I'd been in, so it's kind of like I guess I am now a joiner of the things I love. I just didn't love high school. I just didn't love
I
the
mean, when you're surrounded by people in communities all the time, I think it's way easier to be like, I'm good actually, versus in adulthood when we are also isolated and there's so many things
totally.
online and it's so much harder to make time and space for other people and find people that are going to align with your values, at least enough that you feel like you can actually build some trust and vulnerability. Like it's a full-time job, so I think it
Totally.
makes sense.
I'm so grateful. Like, I don't think the Rebus would be able to exist without the structure of some of the communities that came
Mm.
before and like all the people that had been doing the work to build those communities, right? I think the Rebus is almost like able to like connect in, plug in, and then have been created because it was like, oh wow, I can like follow all these people and I can join this community and I can connect with folks and like get bounce ideas and I can like peek behind the curtain and see who's working on what.
Mhm.
And if that didn't exist, if like the Astrology for Writers Discord didn't exist, I don't know um if it would have been as easy for me to
Mhm.
like make friends online and like pitch the magazine. So I feel really grateful. And then it's like they turn into your friends, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, poetry has been a journey for me too. That's been very double laced
Mhm.
because I think so much about the devil is like your willingness to see the way, to see the truth, to see chains, to see the way that systems are working against you or that you are working against yourself. And for a long, long time, I worked invisibly. Like my output never had my name on it. I was part of a team, corporate culture, like the company is doing things and I input into the company, but like it's nothing personal. It's not my own story. It's not my own writing really by that point. And then like go through the experience like, all right, I'm gonna like post on the internet. When I first started doing that, people that I know me in person like reached out to me and they're like, "Are you okay? Like, are you
No.
like what's going on with you, Hannah? Like sad
No.
poem. What are all these sad poems?" And I
right,
was
did
like,
you mean to
"Oh,
post this?
that's what's happening inside of me." So no, I
Oh
mean,
my
it's funny.
God.
It was like funny too because it was kind of like, oh yeah, like there are parts of us that are so private and intimate that only certain people get to see sometimes. And
Mhm.
then when you decide, like, I want to actually excavate those and put them on the outside of me, it brings up a lot. And then, like,
Yeah.
willingness to be seen. Yeah, I just have a lot of respect for people who put their art out there, who like publish, personal stories and personal narratives, who like are willing to make videos on the internet. Like I don't do a lot of that. I didn't and don't do a lot of that stuff still. I'm still a little bit like learning how to be more out there. Um, and I just think being seen is so incredible. It's like what humans crave. And then it's like it can be so alarming with yeah, the way the internet works these days, I guess. Because being seen IRL is harder and harder.
Yeah, but I think that's what makes you the perfect person to helm a project like the Rebus is because you do understand on a visceral level like what it takes to not only create the art, but then to share the art and to put oneself up for publication or not, or rejection. And
Yeah.
like Meg said earlier, everything is very intentional. And yeah, I just think that's only that's how you've engendered such trust in this community of makers. I learned about the Rebus because of Maria Minnis. And so
Yeah.
it was like all through community and who was working on it. And then it was very much like, oh, I want to do that next time. So it
Cool. I
worked.
love that. We love Maria.
Yeah, it's great.
And you're gonna get to be in conversation. You're gonna get to hang out with her in LA.
I can't wait.
Oh,
Yeah, we're
I'm
Yeah.
so
doing it.
jealous. I'm gonna be there in spirit.
I know. I wish I could just. I wish everybody could fly. We're doing an event in LA. So if you're in LA, we're doing an event on November. Let me look at my calendar. November 15th, Saturday. It's going to be a panel at the Philosophical Research Society. It's not like I have to get the URL up and start promoting it. I'm working with their team on that, like, because we just finalized it. But it's going to be with Bee and with Maria Minnis and with Christopher Marmolejo, who is the author of Red Tarot, who Meg and I had a conversation with. And like, yeah, just like it was just so incredible to be in space with them, share space with them. So, and we're going to be talking about the devil and like embodied ways of practicing and like being in relationship with the devil. So,
Oh, that's gonna be so special.
yeah, that's why I was asking you, Meg. I was like, what were your approaches like for holding the devil? And then, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's such a complicated thing. And I think, the longer I've been working with this archetype, the more it's like sometimes it feels like an archetype that you really want to like step into and embrace. And you're like, what do you have to teach me right now? And sometimes it really feels combative. And it's like, okay, we got to drag something out of the closet here and we got to look at it. And it's going to be painful and ugly. And I don't want to do this. And also, it has to happen because if I keep stuffing this back, then it's going to turn into something else that's bigger and unmanageable. So I think it's really interesting how many like shades and layers this one archetype manages to hold. I keep saying this, and it will probably end up in the book if it isn't already. But I really think that the devil is one of the most like intimate, personal archetypes in the deck because it has so many different interpretations, and it just really gets at the heart of whatever you're trying to hide from or don't want others to see or don't want to see about yourself. I think there's so much nuance and texture in there. Um, yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be a great conversation. Is it going to be like streamed or anything for those of us that are not Los Angeles based?
TBD. I'll ask if they film them or if we can maybe set up a recording to like record it
Yeah.
as a podcast or something
Yeah.
for folks. I don't know what their tech capabilities are, but they seem wonderful to work with, and that space seems really cool. And I wish there was something like that in the Bay Area for like in-person salon idea exchange.
I honestly have always wanted to go, and it's just been disability that's kept me from going. And so going for the first time, but speaking on a panel, I have been like pinching
Badass.
myself. I know.
Yeah,
I'm
you were just waiting to be invited to be a speaker. That's why you're like,
Exactly. I was
Like, I'll go, but you got to make it worth my while.
yeah. No, but it's a very pinch me scenario. And yeah, I do think there is a real personal element to the devil for sure. Because, and something that I was thinking about when you were sharing, Meg, was also the times when you realize that the strings have already been cut and you're like, oh, whoa, I'm outside of this now in a way that I was inside of it before. And like maybe that is the work that we're doing with the devil, is obviously to cut those strings. But I think that's been my experience this year of the devil archetype. And even thinking about like reality dating shows, we're watching the new Love is Blind now. And I started thinking about all of these conventional beauty standards and how like I just don't see any of them reflected back back to me in and of myself. Like this year is just, if I felt any attachment to beauty standards, all those cords have been cut this year. And I'm not standing here like a liberated woman or anything like that. It's definitely its own conundrum. But yeah, I just think there are so many ways to work with the devil that you don't even realize. And then you're like, oh shit, this is devil stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, you are more of an expert than I am, and you could talk about the numerology a little bit, but I when I was first learning about numerical connections between the cards, and it was like the devil and the lovers, I was like, I got confused at first, but you see in Rider-Waite-Smith and many decks, you see the visual similarities, but also you see them in the Hierophant too, right? This like one, and in the Judgment card, like one figure and like bodies below. But I remember thinking like having to think really hard about that connection, and then it made so much sense to me about the idea of like intimacy, seeing yourself, even loving yourself, like, and just so anyway, I just feel like that idea of beauty standards like comes, I feel like, is related to the lovers card and like being seen and what does like beauty and love mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was thinking about the numerology when you both were talking about the practices that kept you separate from the devil, or able or not able to put it down at the end of the day when you were working on it. Because 3 is the number of expression and art making. And then 6, obviously, we have the lovers and we have the devil and we have community and coming together to create something. But 3 and 6 are both mental numbers. So it is interesting
Mm.
that you have to go through, like 2 and 5 are the emotional numbers. So you have to go through the emotions to get to the creative or the communal part of things. So that's the bringing it up and out. But there is a separation between what it is that you're making or performing and how you're managing it. I don't even know how to put words to
No,
it.
that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
you like move, you can move from the heart up into,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the like relationship between understanding what's happening and like feeling what's happening and like trying to make something from that and build connections within and without, like through that. But it can be a really hard thing. And I think, it's really, I don't think it's uncommon to intellectualize feelings, but it's also not uncommon to get so caught in the feeling that you can't figure out what it is. And I feel like those can be lovers, double kind of themes of like choosing to try to look and untangle versus being like, I actually don't want to know. Or like I'm gonna protect my peace and not think about this at all. And it's like, okay.
Protecting your peace. What a double-edged sword.
That line kills me. I know what people mean, but it kills me a little bit. I'm like, for what?
It's so funny because when I hear things like that, I'm like, what does it feel like to feel peace? Like,
Yeah.
it's like that, and it's not, I'm being like serious about
Mhm.
that. I'm like, I don't know, like, and maybe just someone that lives with high functioning anxiety, like, there are ways to be grounded,
Mhm.
but the peace part is harder to access in
Yeah.
my body.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've never known what that meant. I'm always kind of like, oh, it just means like ignoring.
That's
But
usually how it kind of ends up sounding. Like if I'm breaking it
avoid it.
down, I'm kind of like, you just don't want to look at ugly things. You don't want to like think about anything that makes you uncomfortable. And I'm like,
Yeah, but I
okay.
do at like that. It's hard because I struggle with boundaries
Hmm.
sometimes where I like take on the emotions of others. Like my daughter is having a bad day or having a
Hmm.
meltdown. And like instead of being like, I am me and she is her, it's like there is often like a reaction that happens
Hmm.
in my body. Sometimes I try to like contain it because I'm a grown up and she's not a grown up, she's 8. But a lot of times I have a reaction and then I have to be like, hey, I'm sorry, that has nothing to do with you. Like, I need to go take care of myself. And like,
Hmm.
let's work. Like, I can hold space for your emotions. And like, sorry that I'm having this reaction right now, but I have to name it because otherwise it's just, like it can be scary. I don't know. I was yelled at a lot as a child. And so, that's a scary feeling to have like people dysregulated all the time. But I do feel like I need to work on not dysregulating, which is a hard thing to do. I always correct, like I'm self-aware, so I have resources and embodiment work and somatic therapy and tarot and like friends, so I'm able to like come back into focus. But the dysregulation and the anxious spirals, it's like very quickly cyclical.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Maybe relatable.
no,
Yeah,
it's so
it's
relatable.
very
Well,
relatable.
and not to be like, oh, that sounds so six, but like it does sound really six. I think
Yeah.
that it does make sense that a number that highlights community and connection and relationship would also highlight boundaries and putting your oxygen mask on first, or whatever version of that
Yeah.
metaphor you
You know
like.
the Enneagram? I don't know how you feel about Enneagram because I did it in like a corporate setting, but
That makes sense.
I'm a six in the Enneagram. So
Okay.
I was like, when I read about the six and like the loyalist, I was like, that's me. I felt seen.
Yeah, I don't know very much about it. I think I remember reading mine and being like, I don't know, this is like kind of. I feel like if it hits, then it makes, it makes
Yeah,
it a lot
no,
more
it's just
easy
funny.
to get excited
I'm
about it.
not sure actually. I don't know much about it because again, it was like delivered to me in a work setting, but
Yeah.
I should do research. I was like, is it actually tied to like numerological like
Hmm.
associations or I don't know, but
No, it's not.
thank
I did a
you, the expert.
podcast.
Thank you, resident numerologist. Thank you. Because I was like, I don't know, but just, I feel good myth busting, right? Like I don't know, but I just thought it was funny because in your Enneagram, the six is the loyalist. So
Yeah.
maybe just the one, someone snuck that in, and they were like, I'm going to make this a little accurate.
I think that there are flavors of it, like
Mhm.
anything,
Yeah.
anytime you're working with numbers, like their own energy is gonna be there no matter what. But I did a podcast episode on it a couple years ago, and the
Okay, I'll
Enneagram
go
actually
listen.
has evangelical roots.
Not surprised at all.
I
No wonder it's
know.
only contained in a corporate setting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's one of those that, yeah, it doesn't have any numerological connections or ties. My hot take is like if a meaning making system works for you, use it. Like,
No, but I'll
if
walk the real talk. I need to go look up your podcast now and I will educate myself. Thank
we'll put
you.
it in the show notes. Oh my God,
Yeah,
it was so long
okay.
ago. I would, yeah, tell me how it is. Let me know if it needs a 2025 update.
That's funny.
So the Rebis the Devil comes out. Well, the pre-orders are available now.
No, they're all it's here. We're
Oh,
got
it's
we're
ready.
sending them out into the world. I just shipped like a few hundred copies yesterday. So if you've already ordered, it's and listening right now, it's on its way to you in the trusty hands of USPS.
So
Um,
tasty. That's so
anyway,
exciting.
so hopefully it makes its way to you, and yeah, you can order it now.
Yes.
And I'm
Amazing.
also selling back issues of the Star issue, in which our friend Charlie Claire Burgess was the guest editor for that one, and they did an amazing job, like
It's such a
phenomenal job
beautiful
with that.
issue.
And there's a connection between the Star and the Double in that I thought about the story of Lucifer and the fallen angel and a fallen star, and the idea of what happens like that Devil Tower star arc. We just did it non-linearly.
Yeah.
So I'm
I
selling those too.
and Charlie Claire has such a great piece in the Devil
I
issue.
love that
It
piece.
made me so emotional.
Yeah, me
Oh
too.
yeah, here we'll open it up to it. It's monstrously formed. You're not going to see it's all backwards here, but yeah, it's truly amazing, and it's like a combination of like history of the devil and personal story and like transgender experiences and reclaiming what it means to be in a transgender body, which yeah, I feel very inspired by it. So really important, really important to like be elevating voices from the trans community right now more than ever, even though it's a really scary time to be, I imagine, to be visible. Like it's a lot. So
Full to Charlie and their work is endlessly inspiring. Is their just like presence on the internet and their art and their general energy and yeah, I love their work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how does it feel to be putting out this issue right now?
oh, there wasn't when I thought about doing the double, which was last November, like a year ago. I was gonna get started on the magazine. I was gonna be working like for myself, like on personal projects, and I was like, the last issue had finished up, and I was giving myself until like May of 2025. I was like, okay, I'll start it in May, work over the summer, come out with it in the fall. And there was an urgency once I thought about doing it as the double. I was like, no, I need to do that sooner. So we opened up submissions in January. And then just like life things happened. So it took longer because my goal was to have gotten it out sooner. But it ended up taking longer. But I wanted to work on it like right away. So there was an urgent feeling. Um, and also, it feels like really I don't know. I don't know what the right word is, but this idea of like taking all of the feelings I feel when I read the news and cry over what's happening and feel my heart broken and feel the most hopeless I felt in a long time. Like I try to put that into I don't know, like the flow of creative work. And so to be able to produce something that speaks directly to power structures, that speaks directly to fascism and authoritarianism and control, and have writers be able to support writers that are wanting to talk about that openly and wanting to talk about the relationship. It feels very purposeful, like an antidote feeling, because I can, on like some of the worst weeks that we've experienced this year so far, there's been days where I sit down with this work, and so that feels like, okay, I can't necessarily like immediately change everything that's happening in the world, but I can do this project and I can like support these people and like help make art around it and like through it, not just around it, right? But like through the heart of it. But yeah, but it's also like I'm in a community of like independent publishers. They have like a listserv and we're kind of exchanging things and like seeing funding get cut, seeing artist grants get cut, seeing publications that are part of organizations that now have you can't publish certain words, right? Or you can't publish certain types of stories because they don't fit the agenda of the administration that we're in with Trump. Like, it's really weird to be experiencing all of that and trying to figure out like how do you help the problem? How do you help this problem? And so that's kind of the long term. Like, I feel like it's been planting seeds for me onto is as to like beyond the Rebis, like what could my role be or what could we offer? What could I build that might support people in like a mutual aid capacity, artists and writers who need to now pay their own Medicare. They're not qualified for Medicare anymore. They're not able to do their work, or I don't know, just like they're feeling censored all the time. So how do you give a path for those folks? So that's kind of a broader thing, but it felt like a call, like a wake up, not just a wake up call. I feel like I had a wake up call a while ago, but like it felt more like a feeling of wanting to show up, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's like, yeah, we'll see. I have learned to kind of like surrender to the process for this publication, because every time I try to like make a perfect plan for it, that doesn't work out, or like it makes me really anxious. And so like trying to figure out to listen to the project and what it wants to be and listen to the community and see what wants to emerge. I think that's why like bringing in so many different voices and having these kinds of conversations, even we're having today on this podcast, or working with guest editors like you, Meg, it's like I feel like I want to be in a receiving and listening mode too, and then figure out like, okay, how can we expand or adjust or grow in a way that gives an offering that people actually like want and need and help fill their creative cups too at the same time. So future musings.
Okay, well, I want to ask about the future musings, but I want to know, Meg, if you have anything to add about release, because this is a huge project for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the timing weirdly feels exactly right. It does feel, the word catharsis kept coming to mind when you were talking, Hannah, like just the sense of like getting to put some of that rage and frustration and helplessness and disconnection, like getting to put some of those feelings into a big project that was ultimately going to help other people process their feelings around those same things. I don't know, it just felt very, I don't know, the word like service is coming to mind. I don't know. It's like it really felt like this is exactly the right thing to be doing right now. Like this is exactly what we should be doing. This is exactly the kind of work and the kinds of pieces and the kinds of art and the kinds of ideas and the kinds of like challenges that really need to be existing in this particular world right now. I think that tarot has there's so many ways to use it, but I think tarot still has so much to teach us collectively about how we can take care of each other and how we can learn and grow together, and how we can fuck shit up. I'm literally running like a rebellion container right now because speaking of things that felt like the community needed, I was like, you know what I'm good at? Breaking rules. Let's make a container about it. Like, but
Someone has to be.
it all feels so devil coded, you know? Like, how can we embrace this wildness? How can we embrace this? I don't want to be controlled, or I'm sick of being controlled by something that I don't even agree with or don't even want anymore. And finding ways to push back on that. So it's not a zine, you know, but it feels like it's got this kind of community effort. Let's make something messy together that's really going to speak to something and serve as a kind of charge for the community to keep making weird shit and finding each other and, you know, I don't know, setting things on fire. Like, insert metaphor here, but like it just felt very galvanizing to be doing it. And yeah, and it really did feel like maybe that's part of why the like, what do I do to take care of myself with this? I was like, I felt like working on this helped me take care of myself in a way, because it was like, oh, I get to work on this. Like, I get to sit with folks in their vulnerability and their frustration and their rage, but also their processing and their joy and their releasing of things, and help make those voices as clear and strong as possible so that everyone can hear it as well. That just, I don't know, it just felt like sacred work. Yeah. I haven't slept, so I'm glad. I'm glad any of it.
Hey, you know what? You're doing great.
You know
Meg
when you
on
talk
zero
sometimes
sleep.
and you're like, was that a sentence?
It was a fun. It worked for me. We're on
Yeah.
the same page.
Meg on zero sleep is like other people on all the rest in the world. So no
The time.
pressure.
That's the time.
Okay.
Anyway.
So do you know what's coming next? Have you thought about?
Ooh, no. I mean, I've thought, yes, okay. I've thought about what's coming next. It's hard not to, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is what happens. You finish a project, and literally it's like, now what? Like,
Mhm.
what comes next? Instead
Yep.
of just being like, I'm gonna sit for a little while. And the double idea for the double came so fast after the star. It felt like there
Mhm.
was like a clear overlap. Like, I finished the star, but thought about the double like around this time, like right when I was
Mhm.
releasing the star, when we were releasing the star into the world. And there's a couple cards that have been floating around, but like nothing feels really like a strong pull. And so
Mhm.
I'm letting that be my teacher to like not make a choice right now and just like observe, be in observation mode and know that the right card will come through. I think this happened with after the Wheel of Fortune. I just felt like a lot of imposter syndrome and creative burnout where I was just like being pressured to pick another card and didn't know what card to pick and felt like where do you go from here? And I was like kind of almost like overthinking it, right? Like trying to find a perfect narrative. And I decided to just like not work on it for like 2 months, not think about it for 2 months, like gave myself other, like activities and things to think about and ideas to like explore with my own personal work. And then as I was thinking about like, okay, I'm ready to dip back into the Rebis, I was pulling cards a lot and I kept getting the Chariot and I was like, oh God, that's probably what it's telling me to it's telling me to move. It's time to move.
Mhm.
And then like
Yeah.
Chariot is a really uncomfortable card for me. I like never connected with it. It was like the first time that I was getting it over and over and over again. And I was like, what is the message? And then it was like, oh, well, the message is to sit with this card for a year. So
Yeah.
um, I think that I think I tap into collective. I want to tap into the collective energy. So like, I think the star, I thought about doing like a harder card. I thought about doing the justice card for last year because Donald Trump was reelected and it was like maybe it's time to like sit with this archetype, but it just felt like the devil felt more right. And every time I thought about justice, I like felt like I was hitting a wall where I was like, I don't know if I want to go open the door to that right now. And the devil felt more like juicy and more layered and rich artistically for me. Not that I would never do justice, it just wasn't her time. Um, so yeah, we'll see. I the fall and autumn always for me are like a period of creative incubation where I like to work on like poetry and my own work and watercolor and like kind of turn inward. So I'm hoping that the right card will emerge, and when the time comes, everyone will know because I'll tell people that it's happened. I would take I you know with I've had conversations with people where they're like, you should do this card, and I'm like, okay, why? Like let's have a conversation about like what are you seeing in this, and that gives me information too, right? Like it helps me understand like what are maybe what are themes people are interested in. And for the devil, like that card came up a bunch in conversations with people, just about like what we were experiencing in the world, but also death. That card also had been coming up a lot for me personally. My dad died last year, and I was thinking about grief every moment of every day. And then, so that was a card that I was kind of like toying with, like doing an issue around. So yeah, there's a lot of contenders, but I'm just waiting.
Well, I'll be ready whenever.
I know.
Call me when yeah.
I don't know how right, but it'll come to me.
Have you heard that there's a friend of death in the room?
Yeah.
Is death in the room with us right now?
Let me ask. No.
It's always in the room.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I mean, this has been wonderful on my end, but I just got to show up and have fun.
Yeah, me too. I showed up. So much fun was had. And I'm really grateful that you have this lovely podcast and a space for us to hang and chat about all things. And so thanks for having me as a guest, as a fangirl over here.
Literally anytime.
Fans, so that's what makes it fun to do. So.
The best.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't wait to hang out with you in person, Meg, again. You'll be inspired. I'll carry.
We'll FaceTime you.
I'll put a picture of you in a locket.
Thank you. Yes.
And then I'll wear you around my neck.
There.
Yes.
I'll send you obnoxious text.
I would do that.
You should, and then be like, "This is our guest editor," and you just lock it.
Like, hello.
Beautiful. Okay, please tell us please tell everyone where they can get the Rebis, where they can follow along.
So the rebis.com is where you can purchase. Again, our profits go into paying our artists and writers, printing costs, operational costs, and then profit is also redistributed to 3 different social justice organizations with a focus on reparations and reproductive justice. So National Network for Abortion Funds is one of them. Sogoreté Land Trust, which is an indigenous women-led land trust here local to the Bay Area, where they're focused on rematriation of the land. They're a really wonderful organization. And then Liberated Capital, which is a group that does mutual aid and grants to BIPOC communities. And then we're on Instagram, not chasing the algorithm, but posting whenever it feels good to get into that platform and post. I love being in the DMs in Instagram. Do not like making reels.
Too.
But please come into the DMs of Instagram because that's where I thrive. And pretty much why I'm only still on there in a personal way. Like, there's so many people that I get to chat with on there. That's so nice. And I'm slowly converting them. I'm like, hey, can I text you? Can we move this to text?
Yeah.
Slowly, because I feel my desire to move off of Instagram. So I'm trying to convert people one at a time into being my real friends.
Honestly, I think that's great.
So anyway, I'm slowly doing that.
Totally.
And yeah, I think those are the play that. And we're on Blue Sky because I thought it would be fun to try it out. I not super active, but it is nice to be on a platform like that and just kind of see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, feels better than Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm not on Twitter anymore.
Twitter is cursed.
I delete it.
I don't know how anyone's it, but
and unfortunately, no TikTok. We're not there either.
Mm-hmm.
That's not for me.
Oh, you're on Substack.
Well, right. Oh my God, how could I forget? Yes, Substack. I know. I am on Substack, and I have mixed feelings about it. I know this has been a huge topic of conversation in the Astrology for Writers Discord because so many folks have Substack, and it's really on my mind a lot. I feel that tension of it. Right now, it's been such a great way of connecting with other people who are creating on Substack. So I'm like hesitant. It's just a real place where we send newsletter. Like every so often we'll send an update about like calls for submissions and things that are open. We're not creating on there, like we're not publishing on there in any meaningful way other than just like news about us. But I think if we were ever going to do more content creation on there or like digital Rebis storytelling editorial work, it'd probably have to be somewhere else. But yeah, on Substack too at therebis.substack.com.
Hannah, thank you so much. This is amazing.
Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday.